And you testified on Tuesday about this August 2015 meeting in Trump Tower?
Yes.
That Hope Hicks was in on the meeting. Do you remember saying that?
Yes.
You've had to describe this meeting to law enforcement several times, right?
Yes.
Getting back to all these meetings that we talked about a moment ago, correct?
Yes.
And one of the first times you were asked about this meeting was in July of 2018, right?
So, yes.
And that was a meeting with federal prosecutors, correct?
Yes.
Here in Manhattan, right?
Yes.
And there were FBI agents present, right?
Yes.
And you understood that that was serious business, correct?
Yes.
You had to be honest with them, right?
Of course.
And forthcoming, correct?
Yes.
Was a crime to withhold information in that meeting, correct?
Yes.
And they actually said that to you. You were warned about that, right?
Yes.
And your lawyers were present also, right?
Yes.
And so you understood how serious this was, right?
Yes.
Some of the things had been in the news at that point, right?
Yes.
You testified earlier about a discussion with Dylan Howard about FBI agents coming to see you and Mr. Howard, right?
Yes.
And by that point, Mr. Cohen as well, right?
Yes.
You also testified by that point you received a federal inquiry from the Federal Election Commission, right?
I received from the Federal Election Commission. It was in March of 2018. March of 2018.
And so you understood that in this July 2018 meeting, it was really important to get all the details out, correct?
Yes.
That's what the prosecutors demanded, right?
Yes.
And that's what the agents demanded, right?
Yes.
And in this meeting, the July 26th, 2018 meeting, you did not tell anyone that Hope Hicks participated in the August 2015 meeting, correct?
Objection.
Please approach.
Whereupon the following proceedings were held, I sidebar.
What's the objection?
My objection is Bornholt.
It's what?
Bornholt. He hasn't laid the foundation that Mr. Pecker was asked that question, so he's trying to impeach by omission without laying the foundation. Either he was specifically asked about that, or the omission would be unnatural. It's certainly not that level of fact that qualifies as an admission being unnatural. It's clearly a Bornholt violation.
I can do a little more work on this, Judge. I can lay the foundation.
Thank you.
Whereupon the following proceedings were held in open court.
Sustained.
Before that break, we were talking about a meeting with prosecutors and agents in July of 2018, right?
Yes.
And the prosecutor and agents asked you to tell them everything that you knew about the events that were later listed in the non-prosecution agreement, correct?
Yes.
And one of the topics that you covered for them was the August 2015 meeting, correct?
Yes.
And they wanted to know what happened at the meeting, right?
Yes.
In order to tell them what happened at the meeting, you had to tell them who was there, correct?
Yes.
And when you were asked that question about who was there, you did not mention Hope Hicks, correct?
Could I see what you're referring to?
Give me 1 second. This is just for Mr. Becker, the parties, and the court, please. The document marked for identification as Defense Exhibit 1. To make this easier, I'm going to hand you a copy of the report as well, okay?
Whereupon documents are shown to the people and are shown to the witness.
Mr. Pecker, that is a copy of what's been marked for identification as Defense Exhibit A-101. Do you see that?
Yes.
A 101. This is a report of the meeting that we're talking about, right?
Yes.
And Mr. Steinglass showed you a copy of this report during your testimony earlier, right?
Yes.
And no place in this report does it indicate that you told the government during the July 26th, 2018 meeting that Hope Hicks was present in August 2015 at Trump Tower, correct?
I don't know which page you're referring to. That talks about.
That's why I wanted to give it to you. My question is, at no point in that document does it indicate that you told the government that Hope Hicks was at your August 2015 meeting?
Can we pull up for ourselves just the other pages in the document?
Yes, and we can flip through, Judge.
Please.
Whereupon documents are shown on the witness screen and on the party screens.
If we could go directly to page 11, please. Zoom in on the paragraph beginning later in 2015. Do you see that, Mr. Pecker?
I do.
That's a point in the meeting where you were specifically asked about what happened during a August 2015 meeting I Trump Tower, right?
Yes.
And you did not mention Hope Hicks being there, correct?
No, but I don't know.
Just yes or no?
No.
And you had another meeting with the prosecutors in August of 2018, you said, right?
Yes.
I think that was on August 2nd, 2018, correct? I don't remember the exact date. You remember it was in August, right?
In August.
And you remember being asked about the August 2015 meeting again, correct?
I don't remember.
You don't remember if it came up?
Well, I have to see it.
You need to see the report to remember what you're asked about?
Yes?
Will you bring up, please, for the court, the witness, and the parties, the document marked for identification as Defense A-102? Do you have that, Mr. Pecker?
I have that. Can you point me to which paragraph that we're talking about?
Well, the first question is, at no point during this meeting...
Whereupon Mr. Steinglass stands.
Please let him finish the question.
At no point during this meeting did you tell the government that Hope Hicks was present in August of 2015 I Trump Tower, correct?
Objection.
Overruled. You can answer if you remember. If you can, answer the question.
I don't remember.
And you also testified in the federal grand jury following this meeting, correct?
Objection. Can we approach, please, Judge?
Sure.
Whereupon the following proceedings were held I sidebar.
Yes?
Now I'm looking at Defendants A-102, and I don't see a single paragraph where he's asked anything about that meeting. The witness asked to be shown the paragraph where he's asked about the meeting. It's clearly not in here. I objected. You overruled the objection. He was allowed to ask, at any point, did you mention that Hope Hicks was I that meeting? And yet, he was never asked. I don't see any paragraph in which he was asked. The witness asked to be directed to the paragraph, and Mr. Bove went on to another topic.
Is it anywhere that he was asked there?
This is a report. It isn't memorializing the questions.
Well, then how can he answer the question? The question is, were you asked?
I am entitled to put questions to this witness that he went into the meeting, that he would have had the ability to correct if he remembered.
The question is, you're asking him. At no time did you say that Hope Hicks was there and you handed him the document, right?
Uh-huh.
Presumably to refresh his recollection. So I just asked you, is there anything in that document that says you were asked that question? Your answer, well, they don't write down the questions. So it's a bit disingenuous to hand the witness a document to refresh his recollection. I take it we're not going to finish today?
No, I have a little more on this topic.
And then redirect?
Yes, there's redirect. Do you know how much more this is going to be? I'm trying to plan for tomorrow.
At least a couple of hours.
Whereupon the following proceedings were held in open court.
Jurors, we're going to stop at this time. Before I excuse you, I ask you not to discuss the case, either among yourselves or with anyone else. Do not discuss anything about the case. You may tell the people with who you live and your employer you are a juror and give them information about when you are required to be in court, but you may not talk to them or anyone else about anything related to the case. Do not any time during the trial request accept, agree to accept, or discuss with any person the receipt or acceptance of any payment or benefit in return for supplying any information concerning the trial. You must promptly report directly to me any incident within your knowledge involving an attempt by any person to improperly influence you or any member of the jury. Do not visit or view any locations discussed in the testimony. Do not read, view, or listen to any accounts or discussions of the case reported by newspapers, television, radio, the internet, or any other news media. This would include the reading or the listening to the reading of the transcripts. Do not attempt to research any fact, issue, or law related to the case, whether by discussion with others, by research in a library, or on the internet, or by any other source. This includes visiting any court sites. I want to emphasize that in addition to not speaking face-to-face with anyone about the case, you must not communicate about the case with anyone by any other means, including by telephone, text messages, emails, chat rooms, blogs, or social websites. You must not provide any information about the case to anyone by any means whatsoever. That includes posting of information on the case or what you're doing on the case on any device or internet sites, including blogs, chat rooms, social websites, or any other means. Finally, you must not Google or search for any information about the case or the law which applies to the case or the people involved in the case, including the defendant, the witnesses, the lawyers, or myself. See you tomorrow morning at 9:30. Have a good evening.
All rise. Whereupon the jurors and the alternate jurors are excused.
Thank you, sir. You can step down.
Whereupon the witness is excused.
Please be seated. Mr. Steinglass, can you elaborate on your objection, please?
Yes, my objection is an objection under People v. Bornholt. I think Mr. Bove arguably laid a foundation to ask about People's A-101 which at least contains some reference, a paragraph that references the August 2015 Trump Tower meeting. However, he then showed the witness People's Exhibit A-102, which insofar as I can tell, doesn't have anything at all about the August 2015 meeting. He asked a question. Did you ever say anything about the presence of Hope Hicks at this meeting? The witness says, I don't know. I need to see the document. I need to look through it. He wasn't given that opportunity. I objected because I thought that question was improper, because I thought it violated Bornholt. There was no indication the witness was asked about the August 15th meeting during the interview, and there was no indication that admitting it would be an unnatural omission under People v. Bornholt. The witness asked to be shown the document so he could look and be shown if there was a discussion in the August 2015 meeting at Trump Tower. I don't see any. Perhaps counsel sees one. But I think that was a totally improper line of questioning. I think it left the jury with the misimpression that the witness was asked about it and omitted it. That's a prior inconsistent statement, and I think it's a prior omission by Bornholt.
Is there anything in that that says he was asked if Hope Hicks was there and his response to that?
I don't have a specific response to that. The question to the witness was, does he recall discussing that? This document was marked Defense A-102. It contains a substantial set of redactions, so I don't know what's underneath those, and I don't know what came up. It's appropriate for me to ask if he remembers. He then asked me to show a document.
He didn't ask for a 102.
He understood. He asked for a document to refresh his recollection about the meeting he was talking about, so I gave it to him.
Well, you gave him a 102, which gives the impression that there's something in this document that will refresh his recollection.
What I perceive refreshed his recollection was he did not recollect this meeting with Hope Hicks.
Hear me out. If a witness says, I don't remember, do you have anything you can give me that might refresh my recollection? And then you hand him the document. The message that sends to the jury and to everyone else in this room is, there's something in that document that's going to refresh your recollection. But there wasn't anything in that document, and therefore it's misleading. So, we're going to correct this tomorrow morning in the presence of the jury. I'm going to ask you to please be very careful with that. I'm not accusing you of having done it deliberately. But it still left the jury with the misimpression that he had omitted something. If you want to hand him something to refresh his recollection, you should actually hand him something that will actually do it.
What I was seeking to refresh his recollection on is that her name was not in the document. I understand your ruling. That amounts to there was something improper or needs a correction instruction. The point of my question was, she was not in there.
Mr. Bove, are you missing my point? I don't think you're responding to what I'm saying. I'm saying you asked him the question. You gave him a document in response to that question, which gave everybody the impression that what he was looking for was contained in that document. And that was not the case, right?
Yes.
So please be careful. Anything else?